There is an agency of government that is committed to assiduously moving this economy forward. And it's not just that commitment, they also want to ensure that the basic amenities, basic infrastructure Nigerians have always talked about, good roads, potable water, potable electricity, name it, good healthcare services, education, are being delivered. You wonder, which agency is what you're talking about today? I'm talking of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. And there I tell you, it pays for you to pay your tax. Because if we don't pay our taxes, how would they be able to deliver? And how would government be able to meet all the steaming requirements?
Horizon Revenue Profile. An increasing visibility and enlightenment drive for easy and willing taxpayers. An executive team that considers that lifting Africa's biggest economic hub from a nation of reluctant taxpayers to one of eager contributors to the national revenue is the gateway to unimpeded funds for development. You survey all of this and come to the inevitable conclusion that something big is happening to and from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS. In the month of June 2018, there was news that the federal government had recovered 30 billion naira from individuals and corporate organizations through the tax amnesty scheme introduced by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari. The numbers of taxpayers in the database had increased from 14 million in 2016 to at least 18 million in 2018. Those who know the FIRS chairman would readily assert that he doesn't just get engaged in seeking attention for the National Tax Revenue Organization he heads, but strongly pronounces achievements in a situation where many Nigerians now give due regard to the leadership and operatives of Nigeria's #1 revenue house. Fowler follows up impressive figures with a simple wish for positive growth in Nigeria's tax revenue to GDP ratio. The story at the Federal Inland Revenue Service these days is not whether progress is being made. It is more of what next the taxation gurus are coming up with in their determined effort to shore up revenue for a government that is really determined to bring about positive change in the lives of the people. In the first quarter of 2018, FIRS collected a revenue of 1.171 trillion naira. That is close to 50% increase compared to the corresponding period in 2017, when a total of 778.1 billion naira was collected. Fowler has a response as to what lies behind the hugely impressive performance.
I think it's a combination of all, but especially the deployment of ICT. And also, like I had said earlier on, our staff, we have a new vision. I won't say a new mandate, but a new vision.
The mandate has not changed.
The mandate has not changed. We have a bit more effective monitoring of taxpayers. We're able to expand our tax nets, and we're also ensuring that all those who have not been compliant in the past are compliant today. In short, we have also increased the level of enforcement activities.
The record-breaking tendencies of FIRS are such that even a casual observer would return a serious appraisal to its steady and perceivable achievements. Take the revenue coming in from non-oil sources, for example. Latest statistics put this at about 65%. Another clear demonstration that good leadership with well-defined focus can always dispel the belief that maximum tax returns can only come from the oil sector. Again, Fowler has some explanation for the unusual feat attained at the FIRS.
A lot of the new taxpayers came from the non-oil sector. And so we made sure that we did some comprehensive audits and paid a bit more focus on the non-oil sector. So right now, in terms of total revenue, the non-oil accounts for about 65%. And we believe that as we continue in this trend, in the next year or two, the non-oil should account for at least 80% of total revenue, which will give governments a more sure footing when it comes to budget planning. And those sources also are a bit more consistent and stable when it comes to revenue projections.
And such projections are taken seriously by the FIRS family, as continued improvement has become the creed for everyone.
Who are the Nigerians that should be paying tax?
Every Nigerian, by the constitution of this country, everybody should pay tax except a few people that were exempted from paying taxes. And in fact, by the Personal Income Tax Act of 2011, everybody paid taxes. Before, the governors used to be exempted from it, but now they're not anymore. So, and the law also mandates that we should file our return. So everybody, even government agencies, pay taxes. That is why when a government agency incur expenditure, they pay VAT. And then when they get into transactions, the counterparty withholds the withholding tax on them. So if government pays taxes, then no one is exempted. As long as you have an income or you are making expenditure, you are liable to pay one form of tax or the other.
Has there been increase in enrollment?
Oh yes, it has been both at corporate level and even at individual level. Remember, there is also the chairman of the Joint Tax Board that also control all the state's internal revenue services. Let me speak for the corporate level. When we came on board also, we look at it that, look, if you do not know the taxpayers via registration, then you cannot collect tax from them. So in a bid to expand the base, we set out a lot of our team, and Mr. Chairman created a department called Federal Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Team. The acronym is FEET, F-E-E-T. And we normally joke with that they are constantly on their feet. They go out there, combing the crannies and corners of this country to give tax education and tell people why they need to register. The result of that was that we had over 800,000 new corporate registrations since he came on board. And at the individual level also, by the time he came on board, we had just about 10 million individual taxpayers in the country, cutting across all the 36 states and the FCT. But within the last 2.5 years, that has been increased by about 4 million. So we now have 14 million people paying taxes. And we think if we continue to push the way we are going, we intend that we'll reach much higher figure in the nearest time. So all these are showing results, and we are able to expand the tax net of the nation.
Fowler's status goes beyond being the executive chairman of FIRS. He is also the chairman of the Joint Tax Board, JTB, chairman, African Tax Administration Forum, and first vice chairman, United Nations International Tax Express Committee on Tax Matters. The management style Fowler adopts towards taxpayers, particularly the non-compliant, is to project the carrot more than wave the stick, all in efforts to harness trapped or withheld tax. For instance, the Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme, VADES, which the Federal Ministry of Finance, FIRS, and the state's Internal Revenue Services are driving, was designed to give potential taxpayers opportunity to come up with information about their tax obligations without coercion. The scheme was graciously extended beyond its initial deadline, all the way up to 30th June 2018 by President Muhammadu Buhari. The FIRS executive chairman explains the reason behind the rather generous extension.
I think when it comes to the area of tax, nobody still wants to pay tax. And just by human nature, people usually wait for the last moment. And we did find out that quite a number of individuals did wait for the last moment, and there was a rush. And so to ensure that everyone had equal opportunity, the president decided to extend this until the 30th of June to give everyone more opportunity to do the right thing and make sure that they don't have to pay interest and penalty.
Since it's all about a culture, or better still, tradition that works at FIRS, it does not come as a surprise that the Director, Enforcement Department, bears a tone similar to that of the FIRS Executive Chairman.
We've been able to realize huge sum within this quarter. We've done about 3.8 billion the first quarter of the year from enforcement activities. We've interfaced with a lot of taxpayers, and they saw a different aspect of the FIRS, the human angle. Though we have enormous powers, enforcement is usually the last resort. And even when we go on enforcement, our objective is to ensure that these companies survive, that the companies are not shut permanently. Our objective mainly is to recover monies. And when they state their cases, make payments and give a payment plan which is reasonable, we accept. So it's never our intention to cripple the activities of the companies. Neither is it our objective to see that Nigerians who they employ lose their jobs. It's usually a win-win situation, and they have been quite appreciative of the professionalism which we deploy to the enforcement activities.
The FIRS maintains the sort of dynamism that will always transcend generations of staff. At an induction for fresh employees, the atmosphere was one of young zeal in the midst of proven dedication to duty at the organization they've joined. And for the coordinator of the support services group, Peter Henner, the occasion was simply gladdening.
I feel really good because it's an opportunity to engage young hands, young minds, people well trained that will be part of the family. It is important that as we grow in the service, we need the younger ones to come to contribute their quota. It is a responsibility too of Federal Inland Revenue Service to provide jobs for the teeming youth. So I feel so great. Induction is a very important component in welcoming a new hire. It is an occasion where we try to put in place opportunities in a friendly manner so that as new hires, they will feel free, they will get informed about the services of the organization. They will also get to meet the management staff and share in the vision and mission of the service.
And these new hands have every reason to smile into FIRS, as the service is split into departments and units which synergize into attractive career paths. Here's the Director, Career and Skills Development, Junila Takon.
FIRS takes training very, very seriously. And so at every stage of one's career development, they go through structured form of training. After this level, they will be sent to they will be posted to different functions, and depending on the functions they've been posted to, they will go through another level of development. Now, aside from the aspect of FIRS training them in various professional development areas, they are encouraged to also improve themselves. So we expect them to ensure that they register in various professional bodies depending on what career paths they follow. The service makes provision for their subscription in such professional bodies and also encourages attendance of conferences, workshops, and similar events in such areas. We also have structured programs that run through the year for different categories of staff, both at the officer level, at the managerial level, and at the directorate level.
Human capital development is a strong theme at FIRS, and everyone was out in full force at the induction for new employees. The director, Human Capital, Victor Ikundayo, got the opportunity to refer to the fair and transparent processes of recruitment into the FIRS.
Every Nigerian who is hardworking, who is ambitious, who wants to work with the service, they have the opportunity to work with the service because we give opportunity to everybody. The process is clear, the process is transparent.
So it's not man, no man.
It's not man, no
as
man.
people talk generally.
It's not man, no man, because the process of recruitment does not start and end with the service. There are other agencies of government that review what we have done and they actually give approval. For example, Federal Character Commission will always give a certificate of compliance to all the processes before we actually recruit Nigerians.
Back to the steady rhythm of work at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. The Fowler effect on taxation, as earlier indicated, actually resonates beyond the shores of Nigeria. It's all connected with the global interest in more revenue for nations for development. In the drive for more funds for taxation, the question of what globalization has done to inhibit the tax process becomes relevant. Fowler makes that point and in the process lays bare the new challenges for the tax master, especially in Africa.
If you look at the issue of cocoa, when you look at the transport cost of even transporting that finished product to either Europe, very high, there's hardly no margin left. So we found ourselves in a situation whereby we have a poor tax administration system. The rules don't favor us because of the new era of what we call the digitalization of the economy, whereby you can buy things online. And when we look at what has happened, even in the extractive industry, they have what we call driverless trucks. You can go to mine and the truck is remotely controlled without a driver. The truck is filled up remotely without a driver, and the mine is evacuated.
Even the planes. Yeah?
Even the planes, yes. And on a lighter note, even in the era of agriculture, cows are being managed with chips. Right now, a chip will tell the farmer or the people who control the location when a cow needs to be milked, when a cow is delivering a calf.
Yes.
You really don't need any human intervention. And all these things can be done remotely, meaning off-site. So if you now look at the present operational guidelines that are still being worked on, where you do not have any establishment or presence, the taxing rights basically go to the source where it originated from.
Saying the die is cast at FIRS in terms of ever-increasing revenue generation is stating the obvious. All the same, the FIRS is bent on hitting the 7 trillion naira mark in tax revenue. What are the projections to achieve this?
Well, the 7 trillion is what we call an internal target. But I think we need to challenge ourselves as tax administrators, realizing that whatever revenue that we do collect is shared between the 3 tiers of government, which is the federal, state, and local governments. And as long as they do have adequate revenue and have a good vision, it means that will improve the standard of living of all Nigerians. So we're trying to make sure we maximize the full potential of tax revenue that we can collect within Nigeria.
At least 2 computers are deployed at the various offices of the service for easy access to its e-platforms. This is available to any taxpayer to carry out any inquiry, access any or all of its online offerings of e-services for tax-related operations they might want to undertake. It all adds to the ease of doing business that typifies work at FIRS, thanks to the current IT realities there. The fact at the moment is that more tax revenue is coming to Nigerian governments, particularly the federal authorities, even ahead of the inevitable coercion which willful defaulters will face. But how does the FIRS manage to ensure compliance without major sanctions yet?
I think in any situation, the best approach is dialogue. And a lot of tax administrators believe, because they have the law backing them, they believe more in force, or I won't call it intimidation, but more in force, making sure that if you don't pay, we'll use whatever laws that are available and make life difficult for you. But I think that when people see reason, discuss with people, make things a bit more understanding to them as to why they should pay tax, make things a bit more convenient, and also understand the state of the economy. When an economy is soft or is going through some turbulent times, you might find out that companies find it a bit difficult to operate, especially if they can't find financing through the local banks. Then what a lot of them tend to do is that they look at the tax payments last. And the whole idea is that to keep themselves alive is paramount on their minds, while what is paramount on our minds is collect our tax revenue. But once a company is dead, it also ends the tax payment.
Exactly.
So we have to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, but at the same time meet a middle ground whereby we can collect our taxes and also make sure that the business continues to operate.
Fowler reveals that the new level of cooperation between the state and federal governments has led to exchange of information on data, a situation which has moved up the numerical strength of taxable entities and individuals by the millions. A collective approach to a common problem. That is the African Tax Administration Forum, ATAF approach to issues of taxation on the continent. The FIRS executive chairman plots a path for future events within the African taxation space.
ATAF continues to provide resource information, training for tax administrators across Africa. And the next meeting is in October in Botswana. And we continue to look at the needs of African tax administrators. We continue to share experiences, new ideas, to ensure that we can provide efficient services to all taxpayers and also maximize the potential revenue that we collect as tax administrators. And if we remember the mandate given to us at the AU, the primary mandate was that we as tax administrators should make sure that we can fund our respective country budgets without considering aid or grants from any developed country.
But as the FIRS chooses dialogue as its main tool of trade, there is a subtle message to anyone or entity that chooses to ignore their tax obligations. Adekunle Oseni heads the Federal Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Team, FEET. His team tries to bring harmony into dealings with taxpayers. But he says where compliance is elusive, the enforcement team will take over.
In the recent past, like I've said, I have developed new friends. Because you see, they are very happy that I have sensitized them, I have educated them. Because I have told them things they did not know. Out there, you'll be surprised that there are people who want to pay taxes. They don't know what to pay, they don't know where to pay, and they don't know how to pay. So by my doing that, or by my staff going on and doing that, they are very happy. And they are very warm in receiving us. And I've developed personal relationships with a lot of them. Because when they know there is a consequence, which is where we are in Nigeria now, evasion of taxes will cause prosecution for you. There is no room for you to avoid payment of tax. We will not allow it.
But as real as the FIRS powers of enforcement are, Tunde Fowler still prefers an appeal in efforts to get each relevant individual or company to join the tax wagon.
I would just like to thank the taxpayers that share the same vision, and that vision is to make Nigeria great again. For those who are still on the borderline, we'd like you to join us. Nigeria is home, and nobody is going to fix home except Nigerians, and we can do it. We can make Nigeria our first port of call when it comes to holiday, when it comes to business conferences, when it just comes to living. So let's make Nigeria great again.
A new level of awareness has certainly come into tax matters in Nigeria. The 7 trillion naira internal target the service has set for itself might sound high to some people. But given the track record of the leadership of the FIRS, the ongoing reforms and the passion with which the leadership is driving men and material, the attainment of that goal shouldn't be tainted with any iota of doubt. They've got the method, and it is a winning one. In conclusion, majority of Nigerians are likely to always wish the FIRS family well for the humane phase they have brought into taxation. So, don't run when the taxman comes knocking on your door. He or she has probably come around to remind you that it pays to pay your tax.
Here at FIRS, they tell everyone that cares to listen, and I tell you, you must care to listen. It pays to pay your tax. Have you paid your tax today? I'll come again next week with another edition on this program. Thanks for joining us. God bless you.